what law enforcement should look like in our state. You know, I've never been a type of politician to make promises. I never stood on the stage and said, I promise you that if I'm elected, I'll never do that, except this once. Now I'm gonna tell you the promise I'm gonna make. And you know, any of y'all know me know that I believe that God is organizing my footsteps. And if God should see fit to make me the governor of this great state, if it is his will that I serve the people of North Carolina in that capacity, then I make this solemn promise. Might not be day one, might not be day two, but I guarantee you by day 3, we're gonna call a press conference. And that press conference is gonna be me, and that press conference is gonna be the chiefs of police from across the state, the sheriffs from across the state, the DAs from across the state, and I'm gonna line them up in front of me, and I'm gonna point out to the cameras, and I'm gonna tell the criminals and the thugs and the rioters and the bombers and the burners and the statue puller downers, it's a new day in North Carolina, and you will not be tolerated anymore. Law and order is back in the house, and somebody is here to stand up for these men and women in blue that put their lives on the line for us. We will no longer tolerate your foolishness, and if you don't believe me, just try it. It's high time in this nation and in this state that we stood up once again for law enforcement. The dreadful effects of what has happened since this whole era of defund the police, we're not talking about something that's just cost money. We're literally talking about something that has cost lives, destroyed lives. And it is time for elected officials to get a spine and a backbone and once again stand behind the men and women of law enforcement so that they can be proactive in what they do, not reactive in what they do. And I make that solemn promise now that that will happen. And we have another vision. We got another vision out there on the horizon. We got a vision where when a man or woman retires from Fort Bragg, Camp Lejeune, one of our Air Force bases, that they won't look for any place else to live except right here in North Carolina. That they'll want to put down roots right here in North Carolina, because our vision is that North Carolina would be the most veterans-friendly state in the nation. That all the other states in the nation would be looking at North Carolina trying to figure out how we're doing it and what we're doing. We took a big step towards that in the General Assembly this session by ending the pension on military veterans' retirements. That is a great step to take, but it is only the first step in making North Carolina the gold standard of veterans care in this nation. It is our vision to make sure that we give back to our veterans as much as they've given to us in their service. There's also another vision that we have, and that vision is this, and it's plain and simple, that when you go down to vote, number one, you have to do the same thing you have to do at the bank to withdraw some money. You have to whip out your wallet and get out your ID. There's no sense whatsoever in allowing the most sacred right under our constitutional republic, our democratic process, to not be guarded by making sure you are who you are when you go to vote. And these lunatics out here who make the argument that because my skin is brown, I'm too stupid to get a free ID to vote. We have to outright reject notions of foolishness like that. We can't be afraid to do it anymore. When people bring up those subjects, we can no longer look down on our feet and kick the dust and say, well. We have to look right at that person and say, that is ridiculous. That is ridiculous. It's nonsense. And call them out on their foolishness and tell them, how racist are you to think that black people can't get an ID to protect their vote? We get IDs to do everything. And that argument, well, it's a constitutional right, you shouldn't need a vote. You shouldn't need an ID because it's a constitutional right. The right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Have you ever read those words? They're in the Constitution. But I have to show ID to buy a gun. And here it is. I should have to show an ID to buy a gun because it maintains the integrity of our Second Amendment. To maintain the integrity of our vote, we should have to show an ID and prove who we are before we put our names down to vote. I also see a vision when it comes to election integrity, that when you go down to vote, you have confidence in the system itself, that you have confidence in the machines that you are putting your votes into, and you have confidence in the people who are tabulating your votes. It's high time in this nation that we stop playing around with this issue. You know, in 2016, when President Trump won, the left said that Russia interfered in the election. And now, many on our side are saying that this vote was not legitimate. So here it is. We both said that the system is broken. Why don't we all get in and get it fixed, finally, once and for all? Not for Democrat or Republican, but for this constitutional republic we call America. It's time to fix this system, and it's time to stop kicking the can down the road. It's time for some of us to stand up and really put some work into election integrity. And that's a vision that I see, and I know that we can do it because we are Americans. We can do anything. All things are possible to the people of this nation because all things are possible to those who believe in God. And so, another vision that I have this vision that never again in this nation, ever in this nation, anybody on any job, any agency, anywhere, will be able to tell you as a North Carolinian that you must put some drug in your veins. The word mandate is not compatible with the word freedom of choice. It is not compatible. I likewise have a vision that when you go to your doctor, you tell your doctor, I need a test because I don't feel well, and the test comes back positive for a certain virus, and your doctor and you decide that you want to be treated with that drug that nobody wants to say the name, ivermectin, that's available to you in whatever quantity you and your doctor deem fit. In short, what I vision is a state where medical freedom exists between a doctor, a patient, and their God. And that's it. Not any government entity, not any governor, not any city council, not your boss. But you and your doctor and your family make those decisions. And that's what we need to see happen in this state. That's what we need to see happen in this nation. Those are the visions that I see for this nation. A lot of people might look and think, well, you know, a lot of stuff you said is not going to be possible. Not going to be able to get medical freedom, and probably not going to be able to do anything about election integrity. You know, fat chance on getting constitutional carry in this state. Anybody that says that, I would say this to them. You go back and you look at America's history. Go back and look at her history. I would imagine there was probably a British general standing on Bunker Hill, looking down at all those farmers and blacksmiths and preachers and common folk going, you know, mate, I don't think these guys have a snowball's chance in hell. I really don't. There was probably some Japanese in the war room who were looking at pictures of Norman Rockwell and saw pictures of flappers dancing in the 20s and said, you know, if we drop a couple of bombs on these guys, they'll give up because they don't have a fighting spirit like us. You see, people have always underestimated the United States of America. Those who would seek to destroy her have always underestimated Americans and the United States of America. But here it is. America is just made of different stuff. Americans are made of different stuff. Nowhere on this planet will you find any other nation where people are made out of the same type of stuff that we are made out of in America. The spirit of freedom that exists here, and the absolute spirit of courage to stand up for that freedom. You will not find that anywhere else on the globe, which is why all nations, when it comes to fighting for freedom and standing up for freedom, when it comes time to fight, they all turn their eyes towards the West and look towards America and Americans, because we are different. We are a good different. We're a good different because we're made of different stuff. And we have that vision. We have that vision that looks out and says, not how things are, but how they can be. And not just how they can be, doggone it, how we can make it be. And I can assure you, in 2022, Republicans in the state of North Carolina are determined to make it be so. We are determined to see these visions come true. We've done great things since 2010. But I can assure you, should we win in 2022, and we will win in 2022 on all fronts. North Carolina has just begun to see its best days. We've just begun to see our best days because Republicans have just begun to fight. We have just begun to fight. And so I encourage you to stand up and win in 2022. Let's get that supermajority. Let's send that good Republican to the Senate to do the good work in Washington, D.C. Let's send Republicans to school boards and county commissioners all across the board. Let's send conservative Republicans in every seat that they're running for. Let's wrap this state up in red for 2022. And then we got 2 years to do some great work more work under Republican leadership. And then we got 2024 coming right around the corner after that. We got a good chance, more than likely, we will get rid of President Joe Biden. Don't want to spend a lot of time on him tonight, because honestly, he's not spending a lot of time on his job. So there's really not anything to talk about. We got a good chance of getting rid of him and replacing him quite possibly again with somebody else much better. We don't know who that's going to be yet. I suspect it's going to be the man we saw on the screen tonight, but we'll see. But here in North Carolina, we have a chance to finally be rid of old King Cooper. Actually, not a chance. He can't run again, thank God. But we certainly don't want a Cooper Point 2 and a fellow named Josh Stein. I don't know if he's going to run or not, but if he does, we certainly don't need Cooper Point 2. What we need in office is a good, strong conservative that's got some vision, to understand what the people of North Carolina want and need, and is going to fight like hell to make sure it happens. That's what we need. Now, don't start clapping, because I don't know who that could be. I don't know who it could be. I've heard a few names thrown around. I've heard a few names thrown around. But like I said, God is in control of this thing. And be his will for me to be the governor of the state, and we'll follow that will. And if we sit in that seat, I can tell you right now, we will continue to fight for all the principles that you and I believe in. We will wrap this state up in red, and we will do what is right by our forefathers, by our ancestors, by the folks that are living now, by our children, by our grandchildren, and by the generations after them, because our principles work. Their principles, their ideas fail. Let's put our principles in office and make sure that North Carolina is safe and prosperous and always wrapped up in red. God bless you all. God bless Wake County, and God bless the great state of North Carolina. Thank you.